Okay. Hi, everyone. A very warm welcome to all our attendees joining us today from the Middle East, India, Africa, and Southeast Asia. We all know that the future of data is immense, and with this explosion of data comes immense responsibility. In today's financial landscape, data is not just an asset, it's a liability when left unprotected. So, be it banks, non-banking financial companies, insurance companies, financial institutions, and fintechs across the globe, the real challenge lies in balancing innovation with compliance, especially as we witness rapid technological transformation and the surge of AI-driven models reshaping financial services. With evolving regulations like India's DPDP Act, the Middle East's PDPL, and Southeast Asia's PDPA, financial institutions are operating an increasingly complex compliance ecosystem. Ensuring data protection while in use or in transit and also at rest, while enabling cross-border collaboration, has never been more critical. Today's discussion is all about how organizations can turn compliance into a competitive edge by embedding privacy into the business DNA. Welcome once again to this exclusive webinar on how to master data privacy and protection in 2025 and leverage data compliance into a competitive advantage. My name is Venu Nambia, and I head the brand and marketing globally at CISA. For those new to CISA, we are a global leader in forensics-driven cybersecurity solutions for the digital payment industry, serving over 800 plus customers across 40 plus countries. We are thrilled by the overwhelming response to this session. Thank you all for joining us. This session will last for approximately 50 minutes, followed by Q&A. So please feel free to drop in your questions in the chat window. It is also my pleasure to introduce today's speaker and my colleague, Mr. Ramakant Mohapatra, Vice President and Head of CISA's Data Protection and Governance Business Unit. Many of you may already know him and may have interacted with him in the past. He is a seasoned data privacy and protection leader with over 25 years of experience in IT, information security, and privacy, and has developed and led privacy strategies and compliance programs that drive business growth while managing privacy risks, overseeing privacy initiatives across regions and subsidiaries. In fact, right now he's sitting in Nairobi and talking to us on this special program. In this webinar, Ramakant will share insights on building scalable privacy programs and help organizations to navigate the evolving landscape of data protection regulations. He brings deep expertise in helping enterprises and regulated entities achieve data privacy maturity through unified, regulation-agnostic frameworks. In this session, we will share practical strategies and frameworks that will help your organization stay compliant, resilient, and ahead of the curve. So in the next 50 minutes, we will explore the following topics. One, the key data privacy regulations that is shaping India, the Middle East, Africa, and Southeast Asia. How financial institutions can comply with multiple privacy frameworks while fostering innovation. Real-world challenges and best practices from the banking and fintech sectors, insights into data management, privacy, and governance to build lasting resilience, and also strategies to embed privacy in business operations and nurture a privacy-centric culture. So, whether you're from a banking institution or a fintech startup or a regulatory body, today's webinar promises actionable insights you can take back to your organization. So with that, let me now hand it over to Ramakant Mohapatra to kick off the session. Ramakant, over to you.
Thanks, Benu. Welcome, friends. Today, I will be deliberating and discussing with you on some of the few points that we need to deliberate over a period of next 15 minutes, talking about the new era of data accountability in the multiple privacy landscapes, the rising data breaches and the age of expanded digital world, and also talking about the privacy shaping the industry, privacy trends, and the moves that organizations will be seeing in 2025 and beyond? And what are the critical business challenges and aspect that needs to be covered in data protection governance? Aligning with that, we will be deliberating on key focus areas for CXOs, CISOs, DPOs, privacy and InfoSec professionals, and all my friends here. We will also deliberate on how to enable the privacy posture management in our organizations. Either it is existing or we need to improve. Living with the best practices in the privacy posture management from our research, client interactions, and practices and projects. With this, I just want to highlight on the new era of data accountability. All of us know that data lies everywhere, and why 2025 is different, that's something need to ponder here. With this, as we all know, there are multiple regulations that are enacted or being released or being in draft in terms of the AI, data privacy, digital, cross-border transfers. Living there are overlapping mandates. We have data privacy regulations, we have financial regulations, multiple treaties, mutual trade treaties, industry regulations, all are overlapping with each other on the same convergence to protect the personal data or confidential data of the users. One more point right now is non-negotiable for all the enterprises, all the organizations processing the personal data of the users, that is zero room for non-compliance. There is no room for non-compliance at this point of time, while we have to embed on user trust, managing data subject rights appropriately, and ensuring that data breach responded well and adequately. As all of us belongs to different kind of country regulations in this call, I want to highlight one point. Different countries and regions will have specific laws and regulations because to protect their citizens' rights and beliefs on the personal data protection. Because the localization and local alignments is very, very important to give that kind of assurance and trust to the citizens. Let's understand something about the rising data breaches in the age of expanded digitization. All of us know, and these are the data points for your reference. And if you look at this, there is a clear-cut inference that it is no longer a kind of option, it is a mandate to ensure that we handle the data protection. So which will result into that by 2026, more than 71% of the companies has to have data privacy practices, and the countries, those which are not done, they will also enact the laws, which will definitely demanding the trust through transparency from all the users like us on this call. So hence the customers will demand transparency and trust in processing of the personal data. So that will leave the organizations to ensure that all the trust and transparency is fulfilled in a very optimal manner and time-bound manner. Living to the next one, just wanted to give an landscape that there are different kind of regulations across the globe. At this point of time, as we speak, 144 countries out of 194 countries have enacted the data protection laws in their countries. Most of them have enforced very specifically and strictly. Some are in the process of getting it done. Some are just enforcing them as we speak. So hence, what we need to understand here is that while doing a business in the multinational culture, multinational framework, there will be cross countries, cross-border business deals, business transactions. So hence, it is very, very imperative that we will be sharing the personal data across borders, and we'll be doing business in another part of the world. So living here, so how someone can do and get aligned to 144 countries if one MNC is operating out of 144 countries. So here, based on the practices, the design and deployment of highest level control should be the key focus area for any of the organizations and all of you in this call. So once you have the single design and deployment of highest level of controls, so with little bit of local regulations, then you should be able to achieve your goal of multinational companies across borders with optimized and timely bound of privacy compliances. Moving further, we should understand that privacy compliance is not one-time activity or not a checkbox. It is a continuous journey because user data is processed throughout the life cycle of the data that is in possession and you are serving a purpose. So hence the takeaway from here or the message from here we can say that always prioritize privacy by design or compliance by design, which is just one time. At the outset, we need to understand that privacy compliance is not something half full or half empty. It is always 1 or 0. It is binary. So it is very, very important for all of us to understand that you cannot claim that I have done 50% to be called as privacy compliant or regulatory compliant. So this is something I want to share, and over to Venu.
Thanks, Ramakant. 144 out of 194 countries have a DP law in place. So that's pretty interesting. So it's up time for a poll to understand, just to check the pulse of the audience and also to understand expectations. Can we request everyone to take up the poll, please? Thank you. What's the biggest challenge your organization faces during a data privacy assessment or while meeting compliance mandates? Okay, another 10 seconds. Can I see the results? Okay, so we have quite a lot of people who are saying privacy in business operations is a big challenge, followed by multiple privacy regulations and privacy assessment readiness. So these are interesting insights, actually, Ramakant. What's your take on these results? And could you actually elaborate on the key challenges that the industry is grappling with today?
Yes. So thanks, Venu. And it is interesting results. So I understand that based on the poll results, so most of the people here are having privacy as their overall roadmap, and they're facing challenges in business operations, which is something aligned to our topic of discussion today, and they will get benefited from here from these discussions. So now moving to the next section of our discussion. That means we just should understand what are the different kind of priorities or what are the kind of trends and moves in the data privacy in 2025 and beyond. So as we understand that there are different attributes that can constitute a privacy overall program, but in the world, based on the research and customer feedback and the need in the industry, the few points that are there that needs to be deliberated here. One is the privacy culture, training and accountability, consent management and purpose, attribute-based data protection controls, third-party risk management, as we are processing, either we are processing or we are transferring, outsourcing to some others guys to process the personal data on our behalf. Data subject and principal rights, all of us in this call are data subject and we have some rights on our privacy. We need also controls. So user control becoming more key and part of the overall ecosystem. Then privacy preserving technologies has to be the trend in implementation to achieve the controls. Threat detection, prediction, and response has to be resilient because we cannot have zero breach in any organization. Okay. Now coming into the new world of GenAI, machine learning and algorithms, which is going to take up the shape and is a buzz and is a trend now. So that has to be handled. So responsible AI is also getting momentum here. As we spoke, compliance to regulation is not another choice. It is something kind of mandate. and it is a need based on the user demand, regulatory enforcements, and mode of doing business. Next one is data collection. For any kind of data processing, either personal data or personal information, the data has to be collected. Then it has to travel through the life cycle of the data, and hence it needs some attention till the retention in the system. As we do the business across borders, so there will be definitely need of sharing the data for doing business and doing treaties and satisfying the data of the rights across countries and across continents. So cross-border data movement is playing a key focus area at this point of time to bringing all of them together. So these are the highlights of the trends that we can see in data privacy 2025 and beyond. Moving to the next one, I just want to leave with a thought that we saw a lot of different regulations and we are seeing a lot of trends. So in order to ensure that we have a correlation, we should understand that organizations need to harmonize the above elements to satisfy multiple sectoral and privacy regulations. Hence, they should invest in the privacy controls and privacy office, because this is the trend. This is going to be something from now on, if not done. Moving to the next one, we have faced a lot of critical challenges in data protection and privacy. Being the privacy or security practitioners and the leadership in this call, you will be facing a lot of challenges. And based on our research and our discussion with the customers and our services that we do with them, these are some of the highlights and critical and prioritized challenges which we felt to share with you so that you focus on them, and then it will take care of most of the stuff in the due course of time. So one part is lack of end-to-end data visibility. As we speak, data is residing everywhere, every data source, either on-prem or mobile or in cloud. So getting the data lineage and hidden data elements is very, very difficult. And all organizations are facing challenges in getting that done. The another aspect is that the data ownership. So who is owning the personal data? And there is a lot of inconsistencies that is found in the overall data lifecycle. Either we collect and we outsource to someone to process. It is very, very important to understand the ownership, lies and align with the retention policies and the purpose of processing. The next one I want to leave with that, as we all understand that all the time there will be a consent and notice that will be given to seek the authorization to process the personal data, and also enabled and capped with the rights to management to give the user control and manage the data user rights. So there is a lot of gaps in tracking them, and it is slow, and also sometimes it is not even compliant. So there is some weakness that has been seen based on our observations. As we speak, all of us are working and all of us know that there are a lot of security controls are already in place in a siloed manner and maybe off the shelf here and there. But they're not all aligned, they're not integrated. So hence there are different security controls in silos. Hence it creates a lot of loopholes and vulnerability in the system, and giving an weight for the hackers, all the guys to come and compromise the systems. So that is something very, very important to have unified and integrated systems. As we understood, we cannot run the business on our own. All the business functions surrounding us in our ecosystem cannot be delivered by us. Every organization has a primary function to deliver. Hence, the subsidiary activities has to be outsourced for effectiveness, cost optimization, and accountability. So we will be providing the data to outsiders, third party to process, to our partners and vendors. But there is a lot of challenges because all the vendors that we select and we give the data for processing, they may not be in the same line or expected level of the safeguard and the processes and also compliance levels. So hence that brings a risk for us, because if we give the outsourcing activities, then the data ownership is lies with us to the regulators. However, since they are also processing data, so they should be also in the similar levels. So hence a lot of scrutiny, onboarding process, management, all that needs to be done, which is not done right now. So hence there is a gap, and it is a big gap because the world is going towards a third party processing mode. For example, we are giving a lot of data to be stored in the cloud. The cloud service provider has a lot of kind of ownership as well. So coming to the next one, as we understood, we cannot avoid multiple regulator interference in our processing because industries has to be abided by the industry regulations. The country laws has to be abided by the country. The technology laws has to come and play a part in terms of the enforcing the technology transformations, and business transformations will happen, and hence health sector, AI Act, Digital Act, all will come in play, and it is already in the same. So managing them together is very, very difficult. Hence, there should be some kind of unified approach in order to resolve that. So to summarize this, we want to just highlight and just give the thought with you that if you cannot protect what you cannot find, that means you do not know your data where it lies, definitely you cannot do much in terms of doing anything for that. So you have to discover, you have to find them first. The next point I want to share with you that if you cannot prove that you have some evidence you are doing the practices right, you cannot defend in court or during the breaches while paying penalties and fines. So it is better to identify the data and also protect them, and also be ready with the kind of evidences and proofs so that you can defend and you can minimize your liabilities during the bad times or any days. Now moving to the next one, as we discussed, why it is becoming very important, because right now the data privacy is becoming a boardroom topic. So a lot of discussion is happening in the boardroom, a lot of projects are initiated, and it is tracked and governed well. So why is that? Because right now, if you look at these are the focus areas for the C-levels and all the practitioners on the call. We have to ensure that we have adaptive compliance framework, because this is something that needs to be done, because as we have a choice or not, we have to adapt to all the regulation that is there. If we are in the retail, all the retail kind of regulations for giving the best services to the customers has to be there. So we have to adapt to those regulations. Either it is a pricing model, or it is privacy or protection of data. Similarly, as we spoke, unified data intelligence. If I do not know what is happening to me, my data access management, or the data governance and data activity reports, end to end, when it is collected, when it is ended, and when it reports. If I do not have the movement of the data in the system, in my ecosystem, either in and out, then I cannot do much, and I don't have knowledge. Anything happens, I will not be able to do. So that is very, very big challenge and gap here. So that should be a focus area as well. Now, some cases, what happens, lot of data get hidden. Even many of the places, because of the different privilege access and all that, many of the tools, they will not be able to identify a lot of data which is hidden. So even identifying those hidden data and moving towards also very, very important. And third party risk management beyond IT. So right now, they may have some controls in the IT, but we have to have the compliance levels, the processes, safeguards, everything has to be there in the third party, because that is where the regulators should look at who is processing the data, what are the different kind of level of compliance they have, do they have industry certifications, do they have controls? So those are the activities that will be there. Now moving to the next one, as we understood that crisis communication readiness is required in the terms of the data breach management. Data breach management should be proactive in nature, and it should be responded well. So the resilience system should ensure that we have to handle the recovery, we have to bounce back, and we have to resilient. There's no room for any kind of gaps here. So we have to be proactive, we have to respond in time, we have to ensure that all the controls are in place. And as part of the privacy data breach, we have to report to the regulators, and we have to report to the data subjects based on the nature and impact of the breach that has happened. So hence there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and this is where this is one of the areas where a lot of attention is required to establish this process. So there is a gap in some of the organizations either larger, small, or medium. Now moving to the next one. So right now, no one wants to have a trust on the vocal mode. If I tell something that I am compliant, no one is going to trust me. So hence, we should have audit grade evidence management. That means we should have third-party audits, external guys who come and audit and find out the gaps, and we do the remediation on that, and then we tell that yes, it is there. So right now, if you look at that in the privacy world, there are only one or two certifications that is available, but there is a lot of guidelines, lot of auto kind of certifications available. That like records of processing activities may be managed. Just that is audit evidence for ensuring that data activity management is done, right? So that is something that needs to be looked into, and this is going to be one of the focus area for all the kind of governance. Now, as you spoke, cross-border data gatekeeping is required. It is no more something that you can abide by the mutual treaty between two countries. So it is going to the next levels that transaction-wise, process-wise, and activity-wise, that has to be done between two entities, not two countries now. Two countries it at a higher level, and now it has to be done at the activity level, transaction level. Hence, it is going to be the focus area. Otherwise, a lot of cross-border penalties and non-compliance will attract fines and also other complications. Now, as we have spoken, all the different kind of elements here, I want to just leave with a thought. As we know that AI is leading the transformation in technology world, and we have third parties who are going to help us in the ecosystem of processing faster, providing better and appropriate services. We understood that there is a lot of shadow data that is in the system that needs to be identified, that need to be treated and also processed. And the governance at this point of time, privacy governance is not much as it is required. So it is there in bit and pieces. It is not integrated. It is not KPI based. At any point of time, like Security Operations Center, you see all those kind of alerts that comes, which node has gone down, which firewall has gone down. So those kind of mechanism and dashboards are yet to be governed in the privacy world. So unless we govern effectively, we will not be able to have those kind of peaceful sleepful nights for the CXO. So these are some of the attributes which need to be kept in focus. And I assure you from the practitioner point of view, if we focus on all these kind of activities, then definitely we will be able to manage more than 85% of your issues throughout the privacy posture management or privacy maturity levels in the organizations. So as we speak, we have talked about the challenges, we talked about the focus areas, but how to achieve them, how to ensure that what are the focus areas we should do or we should implement, we should consider in our program map or in the privacy implementation strategies, so that we do them in a planned manner and in a manner that how it has to be done. Over to you, Venu.
Thank you, Ramakant. So we heard about the challenges organizations are commonly facing and the key focus areas for CXOs, CIOs, and the stakeholders, and how to adapt to compliance framework, third-party risks, and cross-border data gatekeeping, considering that privacy is a boardroom topic now. Now, let's quickly take up another poll before I request Ramakant to share his thoughts on how to mitigate some of these risks and enhance privacy posture. So you might see the second poll on your screen. Which of the following poses the most significant ongoing challenge for an organization in maintaining data privacy? Request all of you to take this up, please. 30 seconds. Ten seconds. Great, thank you. So we can see evolving regulatory landscape is pretty high on the score. Managing third-party data risks and data discovery and classification is the most important of all, Ramakant. So, what do you have to, how do you read this? Could you share your thoughts before you deep dive into the best practices that organizations, especially banks, insurance companies, and NBFCs should adopt to strengthen their overall security posture?
Yeah. So based on the reading from the audience poll, so I could conclude in that data discovery and classification, that is unified data intelligence, that we talked about, that data across system, data across borders has to be identified before processing. That I think the audience has got the right sense. So it is something that is good. Another thing, as I discussed, that the managing third parties in the ecosystem based on our business transformations and the ecosystem to speed up and scale. So that is something they have clicked, and they have given 33% weightage on that. So I think the overall understanding is right, and from the my point of view, and hence let's share some of the thoughts how we can make the overall privacy journey more effective, and how to implement in seamless manner and objective and result oriented manner. So as I will be speaking up little bit here. So the logic is the two things. As we understood data protection is some kind of confused word across the board. So sometimes we talk about security as the data protection measures. Sometimes privacy also comes into play about the data protection. So I'll just make it clear for all of us and your understanding and how to take it forward. So privacy is focused on safeguarding the personal data. It is aligned to a lot of regulations, which is also aspect of the different constitution of different countries, and it's related to human rights, related to human commission and all that. So now the user become the key and center and focus point of the nucleus in the privacy. So user data has to be taken optimum importance while processing, giving all due respect to different kind of requirement as per the law and privacy norms. Now, how to do that? That is very, very important for the security. So how you will be implementing them by using the security, the technical controls, the security controls, ensuring that data is secured. Data is secured across all the kind of life cycle of the data that we will be discussing also. Now, the point that I want to tell you the clear differences is that privacy is something which will tell how much to do, and what to do will be done by security. For example, privacy will tell you have to protect the data optimally. Then security will decide whether to have 256 level of encryption or what kind of masking in order to protect the data while the data is being processed. So based on this analogy, if you look at that, identifying the data discovery classification is the one of the major and initial building blocks of privacy. And all of you have prioritized that in your poll as well. Moving towards that, all of us also needs data subject request, because as we are one of the users and our data goes into multiple facet of processing, starting from our telecom requirement, social media, social engineering, and all our work. So a lot of things sometimes we do not know how it is being processed, or it may be processed in proper manner or not. So we have every right to know who is processing, how it is being processed, up to what time it will be processed, and if I have a grievance, is it resolved in time. So moving towards the consent and the notice, so that is something that we have to understand, that it is one of the basic requirement in ANT's lawful basis of processing in most of the regulations. And it is something which is unavoidable. It has to be there. It has to be more enhanced. And we have to do an assessment, security assessment, because we should not do more which is not required. So it should be appropriate to the risk. So hence security assessment has to be done based on the type of processing that we do. So that is something that we have to be careful on that. Then data retention, after the data is being processed. So do we have retention policies in order to delete the data which is no longer required? So that is a major challenge across the board, across the world, all organizations. Some are doing at low-lying work, some are doing transaction-based, but it is very, very difficult to comprehend and delete properly, because we do not know about the intersection of so many laws which may require at any type of time. So in order to move privacy programs, defining the policies, charter, and framework is very, very important. So unless you have policies, SOPs, process document framework, and well trained and well implemented, you are not going to get the output as it is required. So it is something that is required. Now moving to the security aspect, as we told, it will not be only the technical controls, the process strategy and data strategy are the two ingredients in order to make security happens. So hence all the details that is given here, like masking is something that we have to ensure that the data is secured across the sharing or between the parties within the ecosystem. And we have authorization, authentication, everything has to be done in order to who is the rightful access to the data. That is also through the access controls. And now the activity monitoring, who is doing what piece of the data, what transactions is important. So that may be sometimes insider threats, sometimes you are seeing at the frauds in the bank, someone is also siphoning the funds by using some other credentials. So that is very, very important to understand activity monitoring, which will be helpful in money laundering, activity management, fraud management as well. Now moving to the protection, we have to discover the data, we have to classify them, but we have to also ensure that how they has to be classified. There should be some kind of endpoint solutions that has to see that data is not going out. So DLP solutions, then rights management on who has to access what level of data based on the internal confidential, all highly confidential kind of classifications. Then information rights management and SIM tools. So all these are required in order to protect the data end to end, starting from the collection till the endpoint it is shared across. But however, all of them has to be harmonized. So security controls should not be very much huge or very much draconian in terms of the privacy. So both has to be balanced manner and harmonized manner. So for example, suppose we are doing UBA, user entity behavior analytics. For that, a lot of AI models are used. As we understand that all the AI models will have some hallucinations and some kind of false positives. Hence, there should be a balancing act of what to monitor, what not to monitor. So that is very, very important. Based on your need, you have to design the UBA algorithms accordingly to give the highest level of accuracy. So now we have to understand that we have to have a strategy to have privacy and security controls agnostic of regulation and technology. For example, none of the regulations talks about what level of technology you will use. For example, any regulation, privacy regulation will not tell that you have to use 256 bytes of encryption. So that will never be told because regulations doesn't change very often. Technology just expands like in rocket science. So the regulation will still be applicable what is right now, and if not enacted or changed after 10 years, because they talk about something that based on your risk assessment, based on your risk appetite, you have to design and implement appropriate controls, compensatory controls. So that is what something is there. So hence, my suggestion is that whenever you are designing controls for privacy implementations or privacy preserving technologies to protect the data, you should be looking at holistic view, how on long term it will be applicable. Not for just short time, just put some patch and some kind of wrapper and move on. That will also not be appropriate, and hence it will create more wrappers in the coming days. So moving to the next one, this is from our practices, discussion with the customers, industry practice, and we felt that these are some of the parts we have to leave with you are the best practices, how you will be implementing your privacy posture programs. So as I talk about organizational controls, so all of us knows about that organization will need some kind of focus area in terms of the data privacy activities right now, as it become a boardroom and kind of a regulatory mandate for all the business to have. So in some of the regulations, we have a call out for appointing a DPO, but it may not be mandated in some of the regulations. But however, the suggestion recommendation is to have a privacy function, which will be dedicated because they have to do a lot of detailing. They have to ensure that all the personal data processed in the organizations are controlled and with appropriate processes, policies in place. The second aspect we have to force that consent management has to be forced because it is one of the legal basis of processing in most of the regulations and also during the whole data life cycle. So that is something that we have to live with. We cannot afford to have consent management. That means consent starting from the collection, withdrawal, and also grievance handling, and also the stop processing. Everything should be available in the consent management. And if there is a change in the notice, the way we are processing the data, we are supposed to update according to the users, just like all of us. So then as the user and as a data subject, there should be data subject rights management, which has a life cycle. That means the right to access, right to update, right to know about your data, and right to delete, right to withdraw, everything should be available. So, and also the right to grievance handling, which all has a timeline or SLA. It is no longer that I send an query and for years together you don't respond. Very, very important. And the data subject rights management has different flavors in different kind of business functions. Sales marketing, and your online banking, even whenever you are doing social marketing, social engineering or social media, right? So everything has got different kind of use case, contextual applications. So we should understand that based on our industry performance or kind of industry that we provide services, we have to do that way. Now coming to the next one, revise all processor contracts. So right now, all of us are working with a different kind of third parties or vendors or partners. We may have some contracts which is in place. We may not have, or we may be doing only based on the POs or kind of purchase order or some kind of document. It may not be holistically ensuring and binding contracts and clauses which mutually hold both the parties responsible at the rainy days. So hence it should be advised that because there are the regulatory penalty that will be enforced on the data controller, we can say, or all the organizations, there should be also binding contract between the organizations or the data controller and fiduciary with the contract processing entities, third party vendors, all the processors. It is very important now. So all the contracts have to be revised to include the same level of kind of mandate for them so that they also become owner and the liability also is shared. As it is a continuous journey and we cannot always go on tapping into the each day of activities. So it is equivalent and it is very, very necessary that we should do a data check, audit check. So audit check will give us what are the different gaps at that point of time, what we have practiced so far, or against a policy, against a framework that we have established, and also industry requirements. The gaps are very, very important for our continuous improvement and ensuring that day by day we are becoming robust in our organization and we start being optimal, not spending more time on governance. As we elaborated earlier, that data breach is unavoidable, but hence we have to also ensure that we don't bleed at time. So hence we have to have a risk transfer mechanism. So what we suggest to the organizations to have appropriate cyber insurance coverage, which is good to have transfer of the breaches if we have to pay penalty and fines to regulator and data subjects. It is very, very important to consider this, and this should be appropriate for a sum assured amount based on your risk appetite, the type of business you are in, and who are competitors, and which countries and continents you are operating in. So based on all factors, you have to figure this out. So this is something which is interesting, not yet very much matured in the industry, but it is something to call out for. So next one, want to just leave something on the technical aspect. So most of you will be practicing some of these activities. So I just want to leave with some of the points here. The privacy risk assessment has to be done, because unless we know your privacy maturity levels, where you are, you cannot take corrections, you cannot build the remediation plan or program plans. Very, very important. Data privacy impact assessment has to be done in a focused manner for your platform, systems, mobile apps, cloud apps, many things where more and more data resides on the flow. And as we discussed, data discovery classification is the building block and it is non-negotiable. It is an activity that has to be done in order to identify the sensitive data in looks and corners of all your organization or your storage devices, cloud or third party or in your own different endpoints. As we understand, we have to create a personal data inventory in the organization and also do a data flow mapping for all the different kind of processes that we have. You have got HR, you have got financial, you may have different activities which you do that. So the mapping has to be done. And whenever you provide services to your customers, all is personal data mapping end to end should be available, in which department it goes through and get processed. As the time demands or the current position demands, there is a data activity management that's required in order to go global and also to ensure that who is having access to which data and what they are doing with that data. So data activity management DAM, which is a new concept which is coming on, that is something that is required for all of us to focus on. So the privacy regulations, they are enforcing that just in time for the records of processing activities, which can be sometimes live or real time, sometimes on offline, they can be just managed regularly. AI governance, something it is recommended to enforce immediately. As we embark on the AI journey, all of us in this call would have already embarked the AI journey and calling ourselves as AI experts and AI generated code, AI generated processes or the codes or the inferences, dashboards, all that. So we should understand that in the privacy world, there is some concept called responsible AI, which has to be used in order to ensure that we bring down the AI hallucinations and the false positives, and we stand our head high in terms of the compliances. And as we discussed, the implementation of security and technical controls has to be based on the theme and type of risk assessment we do and the appropriate controls that we need to put. So one suggestion here is from a practitioner point of view, we have to start understanding what are the open source uses and how it has to be done. Because sometimes open sources do not come with the appropriate level of controls, and sometimes it will be the source of your data outage and data leaks. As we embark in the multinational companies and we work and do business across borders, so in some places data localization due to the data sovereignty laws and the demands of that country laws that is required. So hence we should also ensure that whenever we are preparing our plan for the data management, we should ensure that data localization also is taken as a point. Moving to the next one, people, as we understand that people is never going out of the overall ecosystem, it is going to be the one of the aspect that will be there. So hence we have to ensure that we train our people who will going to service the customers, and customers has to be also trained on consumer privacy, because that is important. Will be using different kind of data in the organization. There should be the enforcement should be done so that data ownership is governed. Moving to the next one, process. As we all understand that without process, it will never be a successful privacy program posture implementation. So we have discussed that third-party vendor assessment, process, audit, everything has to be done. We have to revise the policies, process, and notices as required in the current one. It can be generic in nature based on the overall processes. Breach management, ensuring that we should have tabletop exercises, simulate the breach, ensure that stakeholders are done. So you should be responding resiliently. So the next one is data sharing with regulators, with the different parties, different among ecosystems, cross-border, that should be taken care. Now, privacy governance dashboards should always be part of your C-level executive dashboards to ensure that how is the privacy posture in the organization. And in order to have seamless, ensuring that you cover everything by a systematic manner, you should use privacy by design so that you do not rework again whenever you get a chance. So giving the insights from here, the data protection is mandated throughout the data lifecycle. So data at rest, data in use and transit are the major mode of data processing. So hence sometimes we have to understand that we cannot leave one thing away. You cannot say that my data is encrypted at database, so I am safe and the data privacy is all good. So that should never happen. So moving to the next one. Venu, over to you.
Yeah, so Ramakant, you can carry on with the DDIS framework, then I can come back.
Okay, so just we wanted to understand one aspect. I want to leave with this. These are some enterprise data privacy requirements. So most of you must have heard of all these kind of ingredients here. These are the building blocks or foundations for ensuring a successful privacy posture implementation. So culture and training, we have discussed on that. Privacy charter and business case that we want to ensure that it is taken care. Then we have unified privacy assessment. You have to understand what is the maturity level of your organization in the privacy posture implementations. And you have to discover, classify, as we have discussed. Then there is a process flow that has to happen among all the business processes and life. Then moving towards next, in order to do this, what we have to do, we have discovered. Then we have to design the process and the controls. That is why privacy by design, breach management, technical control design, data retention guidelines, and data transfers has to be designed well, and the process and the controls. Then once you design, then we have to implement them so that they are in the systems. Either you buy, build, or you upgrade your systems or your IT systems, or you take off the shelf product and implement, integrate. So we should have policies, we should have consent management, DSR, third party data privacy impact assessment, all that to be done in order to give you the risk, the control, so that you implement. Now, while we do implement all that, it is a continuous journey. We should never forget to have the sustenance process in place. So we should have sustenance privacy governance. We should have PI inventory getting revised every day whenever there are changes. We should also do a data audits to demonstrate and prove that we are doing what is required as per policy. And we should also ensure that there is a brand that is there, that I am good and users should come to me through the demonstration of the certifications. So this is required as an overall privacy posture implementation program. Moving to the next one, this is our framework: discover, design, implement, and of unified framework. So we follow privacy by design approach in our assessments. During the discover phase, we talk about culture training, then doing an independent unified assessment across. Then we will use data discovery classification to identify and prepare the policies. And design, privacy by design, data transfer designs you do. And we implement a lot of controls by doing a deep dive into data impact assessment and living there, and also help in third party assessment and taking what controls should be in place. And we help in organizations also do sustain data privacy governance and audits. While this is what we focus, but based on the need and requirement of the organizations, we'll support all the privacy ingredient that we discussed in the elements that is required for the privacy organizations. So with this, I will just hand over to Venu, and thanks for patience listening.
Thank you, Ramakant. So, I didn't want to cut off in the earlier section, because, you were in full flow, and this entire thing about the DDIS framework and the best practices that you just elaborated on was really, really useful. There's one final poll, and this is required for us to make sure that the content that you're serving is really useful. I'm sure the audience gained a lot of valuable takeaways on how to operationalize data privacy while maintaining agility and innovation in the business, right? So just to quickly, I know we are up on a time here, but just to recap the highlights of the session. One, multiple regulatory mandates and overlapping of regulation is causing stress for compliance. Two, rising of worldwide privacy regulations are forcing us to adopt unified convergence of regulations by use of privacy by design, and making privacy posture and culture an ongoing journey to optimize cost, resources, and timelines. Thirdly, data intelligence challenges protection measures throughout the data lifecycle and governance, becoming the hub of privacy governance. More importantly, around user rights. So that's something which has been called out. And fourth point was understanding about the different elements in data privacy posture management and how accountability is getting entrusted with C-level owners, especially the reason you called out was privacy is becoming a boardroom topic today. So before we wrap up, we now open the floor for a quick Q&A session. I see a few questions that's already come in. Do you want to take this up, Ramakant? How practically we should track and manage data subject rights in an organization? Does that go along with consent management?
Yeah, so it will be linked to consent management. So I'll take this question, and so thanks for asking this question. Nice question. So data rights management right now is nothing but the customer services that is there in most of the banking and fintech companies. So we should have data rights management. It is called out. It is mandated in all the privacy laws. It has to be implemented in a systematic manner. May not be using the tools only. This can be small kind of appliances that can be used, starting from the data collection and giving the administrator the notice and giving the user to share whatever the kind of disagreement he has. He has grievances and how he can withdraw his rights, how he can stop his processing. That needs to be ensured through the life cycle, and the data rights management process also has to be implemented so that the response time within the SLA has to be provided to the data subjects, and more it has to be tracked, and we have to also show as an evidence that how many we got, how much we have serviced, and what is the level and what is the closure.
Thanks, Ramakant. Sinoj, I hope that answers your question. Another one, with data now spread across multiple clouds and geographies, how can organizations maintain visibility into where their sensitive data lies?
Okay, so and this becomes the this becomes the foundation of identifying the sensitive data, to know where your data so that you can remediate or you can classify or you can take some actions on that for protecting them. So should be data discovery and classification engines that should be run to identify in all the different kind of environments that you operate in, either in your endpoint or in cloud or in multi-geographies, wherever you are sharing the data. So once you identify the data and where it is residing, then we have to look at that what are the protection levels that they have, and hence we need to do an classification policies and also implement the classification engines and enforcement the classifications and the protection measures and DLPs in order to protect the data at that point of time where it is residing.
Great. Thank you, Ramakant. Abdul, I hope that answers your question. We'll take one more where we are up on time here, but there's one from Sai. Where do you see most organizations struggling in privacy assessment readiness, data visibility, or ongoing governance? Where do you see most organizations struggling in privacy assessment readiness, data visibility, or ongoing governance? Ramakant.
Yeah, at this point of time, based on the interaction with the customers and speaking to the industry bodies and different forums and sharing the ideas among others. So what my point of view is that right now, definitely the privacy readiness is some topic in most of the countries. So they want to know what is their maturity level of the privacy implementations, followed by the data discovery and data intelligence and how to ensure that where is the data and what to do with them. And of course, the next one is about the other aspect that was talked about in terms of the governance, because without governance, you can't really make sure that any program is effective, and you cannot also respond to the regulators as it is required.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Ramakant. Thank you all for those thoughtful questions. In the last 3 minutes, we have got about 22, 24 questions that's come up. We will respond to each of you by mail. So we truly appreciate your time and engagement today. If you'd like to learn more about CISA's data protection and governance solutions, or even schedule a one-on-one discussion with our experts, please reach out to us through the contact link shared in the chat, or mail us at contact@cisainfosec.com, or visit our website www.cisainfosec.com. On behalf of the entire CISA team, thank you for joining us for the session. We hope you found it valuable and insightful. So stay safe, stay compliant, and keep building a privacy-first future. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.